Hey, I'm Tetron Studios and I've been making a Factory game called Galactory for about 2 months now, and I have tons of progress to share with you all. If you're new here, Galactory is a Factorio-inspired factory building game, with a large focus on magic, science, and planet exploration. I did say last devlog I would start to work on the magic/sciencey side of the game, but I got carried away and just started adding a ton of other features. To start off, I'm going to talk about how originally the game worked by running conveyors straight into buildings to put items into them. For example, if I wanted to put some coal into a furnace, I would run the belt of coal directly into the furnace. I then decided to brainstorm a couple of ways I could do this differently because it didn't feel satisfying at all to use the belts in this way. My first draft was adding a new belt called a siphoner. It basically just tried to siphon an item from the object behind it, then acted like a normal belt after that. I really wasn't a big fan of this either though, so directly ripping off Factorio, I decided to scrap those siphoner things and add inserters to my game. If you haven't played Factorio or don't know much about it, one of the core elements of the game is the inserters. They pick up an item using their arm, swing their arm around, and insert the item, hence the name inserter. After tinkering for a bit and getting a result I was happy with those inserters, I got a bit carried away with modifying the building system, and just started beefing it up a whole ton. The first thing I did was added support for scaled buildings, as previously the building system was only made with 1x1 buildings in mind, so after a quick 30 minutes it could now support scaled buildings. For example, a building that is 2x3. The next thing I did, which seems like a bit of a late addition to be completely honest, was making it so you were able to delete buildings. Yes, that's like a key part of a building system, like the whole deleting part. But up to this point, for some unholy reason, I hadn't added it yet, and it was getting super annoying not being able to delete things. You can delete things now. The next thing I did was add build glyphs, which is a name I made up on the spot for them, but basically just little indicators that show up when building things to let the player know some info about what they're building. For example, when placing an inserter, it tells the player the pickup point of the arm and the drop-off point of the arm, if that makes sense. I'll definitely be coming back to talk more about the building system since I did do a whole lot more, but to take a quick break from talking about that, I'll talk about the two new types of belts I added, underground belts and splitters. Once again, two very key things found in Factorio. Underground belts are as simple as they sound. Basically just place two belts within a certain distance from each other and the items will be passed underground from one to another. Splitters are also quite simple. Items go through it and are just evenly split between the two sides of the belt, so that one full belt of items can be evenly split into two half belts of items. After that, I added a nice little hover display to objects, so that when you are hovering over an object, it will let you know using this nice little rectangle thingamabob. I also started to work on having ore nodes in the game. Some background info on this, I was originally planning for the game to just be you place a producer wherever you want, and it would just pump items out at a consistent rate, but I didn't really like that. So, I had two options in mind of what to change it to. Option 1 was making it so drills could be placed anywhere, and some places were more abundant in ores than others, meaning the drills could mine the ores faster in that spot. Option 2 was having big nodes of ore visible on the surface which the player could mine using drills. I liked both ideas a lot, but decided to go with the ore node design like the one visible on the surface, due to it having a few more pros than the other option did, and it just felt better gameplay wise. After deciding on how I wanted the ore nodes to work, it was time to implement the nodes generation. The first way I tried to tackle the node generation was using Perlin noise, which while it sounded like it was the right method in practice, it just wasn't the best at making nodes how I wanted them. I tinkered with the settings a lot and just couldn't get it quite right no matter how hard I tried. The next generation method that I tried, which I stuck with, is to just get a bunch of random positions and then use them as the center points of the nodes. I would then generate a circle around each of those positions, the radius of that circle being a random number in a range, and then just made it so it guaranteed a few nodes to spawn around the spawn point, so the player didn't have to travel far away to find ore nodes. And for now, for testing purposes, the system that I have is good enough. Now that I had the node generation working, I just needed to touch up my drills and my building code a little bit to make it so you could only place drills when there was ore below them, and the drills would mine the ore that they were placed on. Then I fixed an issue with the conveyors that had caused me so many headaches and wasted hours. The issue was that belts for some reason could never reach max capacity, because the items always seemed to spread apart from one another. It's like there was social distancing rules or something being imposed on those belts. After thinking about possible reasons for this problem, I finally discovered the issue was that when conveyors tried to push items to the conveyor above, due to the execution order of the belts, even though the belt in front in that game tick had pushed all the items, the belt before executed its code before the belt in front did. So when it tried to push the items, it couldn't because the belt in front said, "Yo dude, belt's full, you have to wait, idiot." I'm sorry for the mouthful, that was probably hard to follow. To solve this, I just made it so if a belt does not have another belt in front of it, it'll push its items and then start a chain reaction of the belts, telling the belts behind them to all push their items, and it was a massive relief to finally see this problem solved. And yeah, it's building system time again. Woohoo! What did I add this time? Drumroll please! Blueprints! They're exactly what you'd expect they would be. You can copy a thing that you built, paste it around, or save it to a file so you can access that blueprint whenever you want. For example, if I have this crafting thing that I set up, and I want to copy and paste it somewhere else, or even save it to a file, I can do that. Similarly to Factorio, when a blueprint is placed, it doesn't just simply build it if you have the items in your inventory, it places down a ghost of that blueprint. Then, the player can use the ghost as a guideline to build the blueprint, or they can make use of the Underworld storage system that I've put in the game. The Underworld storage system works as follows. Keep in mind, all these names are very temporary, but basically there is a building called the Underworld item pump, which every 10 seconds can pump up to 5 of the same item into the Underworld storage. Then, the Underworld item siphon can request items and an amount of that item to be placed in its storage. It's basically just a chest which sucks up requested items from the Underworld storage and stores them within itself. The last thing there is, currently, is the Underworld Ghost Builder, which, as it sounds like, uses items in the Underworld storage to build the ghosts on the map. And that's all I have for this month. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel, as it helps out a ton. I'm not promising anything for next devlog, as last time that backfired quite a bit, but I'll see you again in about a month's time to talk about what else the game has to offer. Thanks so much for watching.